let's get started. I hope everyone knows what ultrasound is. So ultrasound, basically people think that it comes under radiology, but actually it's not. It comes under sonology. So basically ultrasound does not work with any radiations. It's working under sound waves or acoustic waves. So what happens is it receives the sound, it gets transmitted through the skin, and then the sound waves comes back, and then it gets reflected as a picture in the monitor. So basically that's what an ultrasound is. So it's nowhere related to radiology, but yet they have kept this system under radiology. So it's widely used by mostly like for fetal medicine, and for it's mostly studied by sonologists and people who go for fetal medicine. So they gave more importance for ultrasound. So let's get started. So the first slide, it explains what is an ultrasound. The sound waves that travels above the normal audible range, that is from 20 hertz to 2000 kilohertz. So the waves are about 2000 kilohertz are called as ultrasound waves, and the waves below the 20 hertz are called as infrasound. But generally in medical field we use in megahertz, and it starts from 3 to 12 hertz. So uh, there are a few images that we use to it generally lies in these terminologies, but there are few images. It depends upon the frequencies that we use in the ultrasound. And in further slides you can able to see that, and I'll explain you that in detail. So this is the basic ultrasound equipment. This is how it looks like, and this is a standby module of an ultrasound equipment. You can able to see the monitor, and then there is a keyboard. Then there is a probe stand. You can able to see the probe stand. Below this, you can able to see a module there. So in that, that is a module that is where the hardware gets started. That's like a CPU, more like a CPU to the system. So this is a standby module. So this is a portable ultrasound. So for ultrasound we can able to do portable analysis, and mostly you can able to see the ultrasound. uh, it's a portable. It's used in point of care emergency services, and it is also used in operation theaters. But why we go for portable ultrasound is especially in ambulatory services, it's very difficult to do ultrasound with such a big module. You cannot able to view or you cannot do analysis immediately with those big modules. So we can able to do portable ultrasound in this with that in ambulatory services. So people go wide range of doctors, especially in point of care and ambulatory services and emergency services. They go for portable ultrasound. So modes of ultrasound. So why there are modes in ultrasound is to depict the pictures. So generally there are A mode, B mode, M mode, and Doppler analysis. So how the picture comes in an ultrasound? So we need to show a picture. So without an ultrasound image, without these modes, we cannot create a picture in the ultrasound. So first, A mode. A mode is nothing but an amplitude mode, and it is a very basic mode. Okay, that is when an ultrasound is created, or it is at the starting range of ultrasound. A mode was created. A mode has like it has two axes, x and y axis. In A mode you can see like when the sound waves travels, okay, the depth, the in-depth how much the sound waves goes and the amplitude increases. So the peak to peak measurement from each, I'll show you an A mode image so that you can understand. So in this image, you can able to see from the first peak, and there are some noise levels, and then there is a second peak. Okay, so in this what happens is the first peak is the depth. Okay, so consider x-axis as a depth and y-axis as an amplitude. So the difference between the x and y-axis has been plotted, and with that we can able to depict a picture. So why they are using A mode is mainly it is used in the field of cardiology, and it is used to depict the tumors. So if there is going, consider there's a tumor cell. Okay, and so you're placing a probe, and in that first when you place the probe, there will be some intensity, the depth that it travels, and there is a peak that arises, and after there will be some normal amount of cells, and again there will be a peak arises. So it goes on like that. So you can able to depict those things, and you can able to get a clear cut analysis how um, uh, the diagnosis of A mode works. But many of the doctors and physicians are not using A mode nowadays. It's because of the advancement in medicine. A mode is a very basic mode, and it is not like you can able to give all the information in the image. It is just only two parameters, just the depth and amplitude. So you cannot give the entire information in that. So I personally feel like A mode is just a very common mode. So let's move on with the B mode. B mode is a brightness mode. So it's the normal ultrasound. Okay, it's a grayscale image that we use in the normal ultrasound. Normal ultrasound that we take. Any physician who takes ultrasound, they used to take only in B mode, especially in the field of obstetrics and gynecology. So what happens in B mode is, in A mode, I said there is x-axis and y-axis. X-axis is the depth and y-axis is the amplitude. In B mode, instead of this y-axis, there is a z-axis. So z-axis is considered as the intensity level of the picture. Okay, so what happens here is intensity or the amplitude. So what happens here is, so there will be pixel cells. I hope everyone aware of the term called digital image processing. So in this, there will be a pixel cells available for each grayscale image. There will be small tiny pixels. For each tiny pixel, it will be calculated as zeros and ones. So in these tiny pixels, they all form together as a cluster, and then it forms into a big image. It forms a grayscale image. So that's how it works in the B mode. So there are many types, variations are there in B mode. But generally, when why people used to go with B mode is it's more comfortable. And when you see a B mode, you can able to depict the picture at the real time. That is, for example, if you take A mode, you have to calculate the frequency, and you have to calculate the amplitude by yourself. But in B mode, it does everything for you automatically, and it gives the picture of the image there in the monitor. And the next mode is M mode. M mode is a motion mode. M mode is only used for only one purpose, that is for echocardiography, because it is used to depict the motion of the heart. Okay, so it is widely used for the diagnosis, and it is widely used in the critical care of heart and cardiology and pediatric cardiology, and it is used in the field of fetal cardiac analysis. So what happens here is in M mode, uh, in B mode, you have seen only two analysis and it is a two-dimensional image. So it's based on the digital signal processing, you got the image in the B mode. In M mode is, we are going to add one extra parameter, that is time. Okay, so what happens is, here the time lapses, we used to measure the time and amplitude and the frequency at the real time, and as the time lapses for each and every minute, we can able to calculate the total amount of heartbeat, and we can able to do analysis on heart. So what we can depict from MOD is, if the patient is going to have, for example, if the patient is going to have an arrhythmia, or if the patient is undergoing any heart attack, or if there is a blood clot, we can able to view through the echocardiography with ultrasound, and that is widely used with the help of MOD. Okay, so the last one is Doppler analysis. So what is Doppler analysis? First, we have to know what is Doppler. So Doppler is nothing but a change in frequency. So when there is going to be a change in frequency, there will be a that is called as a Doppler. Okay. So what happens is, here I'll give you an example. So consider a train. Okay, a train comes from a far place. When you can able to hear the train sound from the far, and when it comes very near to you, the sound of the train increases. And when it moves up past, when the train moves up past, then what happens, the sound of the train gets very slow, and suddenly it starts fading at a point of time. So how this happens, it's because of the change in frequency. So same thing happens in Doppler also. So we give different frequencies to depict a different picture and to get the different analysis. So that's what a Doppler effect is. Generally, Doppler analysis is done in fetal medicine at the at third trimester and in the second trimester. Few physicians do it in the 7th month, and few physicians do at the 9th month. So it depends. So why we have to do Doppler analysis is, it helps to depict if the baby's health, and we can able to depict what are all, if there's going to be any malfunction in the parts, or if there's going to be any damaged part, we can able to view that through the Doppler analysis. So these are the few things that you can able to see in the Doppler analysis. And next, and there is one other mode called color mode. So why I didn't include color mode is, basically color mode comes under M mode and Doppler analysis. So generally people think that there are two colors, like red and blue. It's like people say like red is for arteries and blue is for veins. It's nothing like that. It is you who keep the color in ultrasound. Okay, since ultrasound is a man-made machine, you can keep anything. If you want, you can keep blue as arteries, and then you can keep red as veins. It's up to you, but generally color mode is used. It's just according to me, how you can keep that is, anything which come inside the heart, or anything which is like oxygenated blood that comes inside the heart is arteries, and which goes outside the deoxygenated blood is veins. So you can keep, according to that you can able to fix the colors, whichever color you need. And so these are the few things that you need to know in Doppler analysis. So next is the penetration and the frequency depths. So how penetration works, why penetration is more important here is, see, when there is a high amount of penetration, there will be a low amount of frequency level. Okay, if there is going to be a low amount of penetration, the frequency level is going to be high. I'll explain you that. So you people will be a little bit confused here. So what happens is, consider the skin layer at the top. Okay, so consider this, my skin. Now I'm going to do analysis here. Now I'm going to place a probe here, and I'm going to take this particular part. I'm going to scan this particular part. Okay. So when I place my probe here, what happens is there will be a high amount of penetration, but the frequency level will be very low. So you should know where to keep very high amount of penetration and where to give very low amount of penetration. So if you are going to give the if you are going to place the probe in the abdomen and you are going to view the parts over there, the penetration will be very high, but the frequency level will be low. But here in this place, the penetration will be low and the frequency level will be high because to depict the image. Okay, so just keep this in mind. When there is a high penetration, there will be a low frequency. When there is low penetration, there will be a high frequency. So just keep this in mind. So this is an image of a BMO. This is a grayscale image of a baby or a fetus. So as you can see, there is a uterus, and inside the uterus you can able to see the fetus. There is an umbilical cord, there is a placenta, and some mesometrial triangle. So this is the mode. In this you can able to see the waves that goes below. It is the sound waves, and that is an ECG wave that goes below. As I said before, in M mode you can able to depict ECG also. So it will be very helpful for the cardiologist to do analysis on this. So what are the probes are there in ultrasound? Why? Basically, ultrasound is nothing without probes. If you don't have probes, you cannot work with ultrasound. Probes are the very, very important thing in ultrasound. A probe plays a major role in ultrasound. Okay, so there are many probes in ultrasound. Why I have given these 4 probes is these are the very basic probes that is widely used by almost all types of physicians. Convex probe, matrix or cardiac probe, linear probe, and TV probe. Convex probe is a probe which has a curvilinear structure, which is widely used in the field of obstetrics and in fetal medicine. Matrix or cardiac probe, it is specially made only for the field of cardiology. Linear probe is meant only for vascular studies. Um, it's not only, I will not say it's meant only for vascular studies, but it is widely used in the field of vascular studies. Then TV probe is transvaginal probe. The transvaginal probe is widely used for the female reproductive system. It is meant only for the female reproductive system, and it is used only by the gynecologists and obstetricians. So this is how the convex probe looks. So what are the uses of convex probe? Why we have to use a convex probe? Convex probe is a probe that helps to do the obstetric studies. Mainly in the field of obstetrics, most of the obstetricians use convex probe. So starting from it helps to do the analysis from the 4th week to 40th week. Okay, there are 3 trimesters. That is, first trimester is from 1 to 3rd month. Then the second trimester is from 3rd to 6th month, and the third trimester is from 6th to 9th month. So with that, you can able to see all the analysis on the convex probe. So this is the cardiac probe. As I said before, cardiac probe is widely used in the field of cardiology. And it is very helpful in the field of
ठीक लिया।
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear, sir. There's small disturbances over there. That's what we can
Okay.
hear now. Yeah.
Okay. So what happens is why we use cardiac probe is we can able to depict the few analysis like blue baby syndrome. Then we can able to see if there is going to be any blood clots, especially in heart. We can able to find lots of blood clots, and we can able to see if there is going to be any holes, or if there is going to be any arrhythmia, or if there's going to be any heart attack or heart failure. We can able to check immediately with the cardiac probe. And without echocardiology we can't able to uh, straight away, if you go to a cardiac specialist, straight away no cardiologist will write for go and take CT scan, go and take MRI scan. No, first they will do the basic imaging, that is ultrasound. First they will try to check what happened with your heart in ultrasound, and then only they will go if they can't find any information that is useful in ultrasound, then only they will further on move on with the radiology analysis. Okay. So this probe is a linear probe. So why it is called as linear probe is you can able to see these probe is very straight. Okay, it's like a straight line. So it is called as a linear probe, and it is mostly used in the field of vascular studies. The vascular studies is very important, and you can able to view vascular analysis. And people think, what is there to do in vascular analysis? What is the usage of a linear probe? And there is an interesting fact about linear probes. Generally people think that we can do only do vascular analysis, that we can see only the veins and arteries in the linear probe. No, that's not true. We can able to see the abdomen also in the linear probe. Like we can able to do the GI analysis also in the linear probe. And there are many probe technologies that has been introduced by various multinational companies and in medical industry. So linear probe is a very unique probe, and it is widely used by the especially by radiologists. Radiologists use a linear probe because they are the ones who do scans on ultrasound for the vascular studies, and they are the ones who do scans for the orthopedic analysis also. So if there is going to be anything that is related to orthopedics or anything that is related to vascular studies, radiologists will do those analysis for instead of orthopedic surgeons. So the orthopedic surgeons are also authorized to do ultrasound, but the time won't permit for them. So radiologists are the full-time persons who do these analysis for them. Okay. So this is a transvaginal probe. So TV probe is meant only for the female reproductive system. So transvaginal probe is used by the gynecologist. Okay, so what happens is you can able to do study on follicle analysis. You can able to do study on all the female reproductive parts like ovaries, fallopian tubes. Then you can able to see the vulva, vagina, and you can able to do analysis on the total amount of follicles, and if there is going to be any issues that is related to female reproductive system. And I do have few slides that explains what are the I think the next slides that will say about female. It explains about what are all the case studies and what are all the diseases that we can able to see on ultrasound. Okay, so these are all the fields that uses ultrasound. That is radiology, gynecology and obstetrics, vascular studies, point of care, emergency medicine, musculoskeletal, and orthopedics. So these are the qualified physicians who can able to do ultrasound. The first person who is very much qualified is radiologist. Why radiologist? Is because radiologists are the person who has exposure to almost all fields. They study everything. That is, they will study from brain, they will do neuro cases, they will do cardiology, they will do musculoskeletal, they will do orthopedics, they will do everything. They have knowledge on almost all fields, and they are qualified to do even obstetrics and gynecology as well. So why radiologist is more qualified is because they they have knowledge on almost all fields, because CT, MRI, X-rays and ultrasound, these four important things are allowed to take almost all parts of the body, and you can able to give the wide range and wide in-depth knowledge about the each and every organ. So why a person has to do diagnosis on CT, X-ray and MRI is, and in ultrasound, is because they couldn't able to do, or they couldn't able to they couldn't able to get the information from the patient themselves. For example, consider a patient is going with a knee pain. Okay, there might be various reasons for the patient for the knee pain. There might be, it can be a symptom or it can be a disease, but we don't know what it is. Okay, so we need to do analysis on that. A doctor cannot do analysis, or an orthopedic surgeon cannot do analysis directly without seeing an image. So that's the reason they are writing first they are writing to take an ultrasound image. If they couldn't able to find a clear cut image in ultrasound, then they will ask them to get a CT scan. Even then they couldn't able to find a very good image, then they will go for MRI. So this is how it works in generally in the hospitals. The next is sonologist. Sonologists are not allowed to do any of the radio procedures, for example, CT, MRI, and X-rays. Sonologists are more qualified to do only ultrasound and fetal medicine. Then gynecologists. Gynecologists are the doctors and physicians who have exposure towards only the female reproductive system, and more basic on women's health. Okay, then pediatricians. Pediatricians mostly they won't do any scanning procedures, but they are qualified physicians to do. They are qualified to do scans. And obstetricians are the physicians who give more importance to the fetal medicine and fetal analysis, and it is mainly during the pregnancy. Then medical genetics is more based on research, and genetics is based on the analysis of how genetic medicine works, or generic medicines. So they are especially to do case studies. Physicians who are in the field of research, they are allowed to do the qualify they are the qualified physicians uh, who can able to develop medicine. For them, they are permitted to do the scans on the cadaver, and they are permitted to do even on life study for human as well, with the living human, but with a few limitations. So, diagnosis and vascular studies. So, I have listed here few things, few analysis here. So, these are the diseases that I have came across very often on vascular studies. First is the aneurysm. So, aneurysm is nothing but It is like development of exactly a bulge on the veins, okay, bulge on the arteries. So what happens is, if there is going to be a bulge, the bulge on the arteries or veins, this bulge will keep on increasing. At a point of time, what happens is it stops the blood flow, or it at the point of time it becomes like a big balloon and it will burst. So aneurysm is widely seen in aorta, because that is most common, and it is most effective part where you can able to see aneurysm. Then atherosclerosis. Atherosclerosis is nothing but it is a very common disease. Example, if you take veins and arteries, in that you can able to see a few fat and cholesterol that get deposited. Okay, it is called as plaque. So these fat and cholesterol, what happens, it will be like a sediments. It will be deposited on each arteries and veins. So what happens, at a point of time, it just gets start thickening, or it will start become very loose, or there will be, it will leave some scars on the what to say, on the veins, or in the vascular in the veins or in the arteries. So what happens, suddenly there will be there won't be any proper blood flow. So if the vein starts thickening, the blood veins start, it becomes narrow, and the blood flow will be, it starts very slowly, it starts to become very minute, and at a point of time the blood flow will be stopped, and the pumping of the heart will be stopped, and then it starts affecting the lungs and rest of the body parts. So atherosclerosis is, it's not seen very often, but it is one other disease that can be viewed, and it can be diagnosed in vascular studies. Then blood clots. Blood clots is a very, very common thing that happens, especially people with hemorrhage, people who has accidents, or people who undergone any trauma, or on these cases there will be blood clots. So what happens in blood clots is the it's called as a deep vein thrombosis. That is yeah, the blood flow to the lungs, okay, the oxygenated blood that carries to the lungs, the sudden it will be suddenly stopped, okay, and that is called as pulmonary embolism. So because of that, they couldn't able to view those things, or they couldn't, their breathing will be improper, and suddenly there will be a issue in that. So we can able to do diagnosis immediately on that. So blood clots plays a major role here. Then varicose veins. I hope many of you people will be, aware of varicose veins. And arthritis. Varicose veins comes to a person when they stand like for a very long time. It generally happens in the legs and thighs, and it is generally varicose veins comes because if there is going to be increased amount of blood pressure in any veins or in arteries, so we can able to control varicose vein, be avoid standing for more long time. And again, it is not seen in many people, but it can be diagnosed. I have made an analysis on that, so I have included in this slide. Then arthritis is nothing but inflammation on joints. Like inflammation is nothing but like a red end, or a deep pain, or like a swollen areas called as an inflammation. So in joint to joint there is going to be an inflammation, then it is called as an arthritis. The very common arthritis that I have seen is osteoarthritis and rheumatoid arthritis. Apart from that, one other arthritis is septic arthritis. We can able to view arthritis through ultrasound. The next one is vasculitis. Vasculitis is nothing but inflammation on the blood vessels is called as vasculitis. So what happens on vasculitis is if the person is going to have inflammation on blood vessels, then there will be a scars on the blood vessels, and that leads to damage of various body parts. So these are the few analyses on vascular studies. There are many vascular studies that still on analysis, still doctors are viewing, but these are very common that has been undergone by the physicians. So this is how the vasculitis looks in an ultrasound. So this is the pulmonary embolism. So let's go on with the diagnosis on gynecology. So as I said before, what is gynecology is? Gynecology is anything that is related to the uh, female reproductive system. It is called as gynecology, and it is mostly viewed by the obstetrician and the gynecologist. So here are the few lists that I have given here, that which I have gone through, and many of the physicians who have listed very common thing. Like first one is ovarian cyst. First of all, you people need to know what is cyst and what is tumor. There is lots of difference between a cyst and a tumor. Cyst is nothing but anything that is filled with liquid. Okay, it's just a semi-solid liquid that is laid around a part is called as a cyst. Okay, so ovarian cyst is nothing but a cyst that has been present in the ovaries. Okay, it is called as cyst. So generally, what happens during ovarian cyst? How ovarian cyst comes is it leads because of an improper sexual practice, or if there is going to be a very painful intercourse, or if there is going to be like a if there is an improper menstrual cycle at that time, you can able to see like ovarian cyst formation. Then pelvic pain is nothing, there are many reasons for pelvic pain, but few reasons for pelvic pain is pregnancy is the first thing for the pelvic pain. Second thing is then menstrual cycle or periods, because of that pelvic pain comes. And then third thing is again, like I said before, uh, what to say, intercourse, very strong intercourse, sexual intercourse, that might lead to pelvic pain. These are the few things that gynecologists often come and do analysis, and they give treatments for pelvic pain. There are other reasons for pelvic pain. If there is going to be a hip replacement, or if the person has undergone any uterus surgery, or if the patient has undergone any, for example, patient might would have got a family planning, or these are few other reasons for the pelvic pain. Then endometriosis is nothing but it is like large amount of how to say, like uh, instead okay, how we can say, yes, it happens mostly on IVF. For example, you take like a fertilized egg. First you need to know what is IVF is. IVF is an in vitro fertilization. So what happens in IVF is they take a fertilized egg from a female and a very good sperm from a male. They develop the zygote, and then they place the grown baby or a grown zygote inside the uterus. Okay, this is called as an IVF or IUI. Okay, so while placing this zygote inside the uterus, what happens is sometimes this zygote may not go inside the uterus. Instead of going inside the uterus, it might be placed outside on the wall of the uterus. So this zygote, it develops into a baby, or it develops into a another body part, and it starts affecting the neighboring body parts of the um, body parts of the female reproductive system. For example, fallopian tube, it starts affecting the vulva, then it affects the vagina, then the endometrium. So this happens only during any women who goes for an IVF technique. Other than that, it might happen during the normal sexual intercourse also, but the chances for that is very less compared to IVF. Then polycystic ovarian syndrome. Polycystic ovarian syndrome is it is a very huge thing that nowadays women are facing. It is one other diagnosis that gynecologists are using, especially a person who crossed about the age of 40. They undergo polycystic ovarian syndrome, and it's very difficult for them to get pregnant, because polycystic ovarian syndrome is nothing difference between an ovarian cyst. Okay, so it is just an enlarged ovaries that is filled with the cyst in the borders. But one other thing in one difference between ovarian cyst and polycystic ovarian syndrome is here, generally women segregate two hormones. One is progesterone and another one is estrogen. Other than that, they do project a hormone called testosterone. As you all know, testosterone is widely considered as a male hormone, but even then, female do segregate testosterone at very less amount of level. So what happens in this case is, in polycystic ovarian syndrome, is the women used to segregate more amount of testosterone compared to other two hormones, that is progesterone and estrogen. So it is very hard for them to segregate, or it is very hard for them to get pregnant, especially when they reach at the age of 35 to 40. So at this stage, at this period of time, what generally physicians suggest is, they will suggest to go on IVF technique or IUI or ICSI. So it is one of the diagnoses that doctors used to do nowadays. Then genital tract infections. So genital tract infections is nothing but it is if there is going to be, it is like, for example, herpes. If the person is going to have an improper sex practice, then they might get herpes, gonorrhea, chlamydia. So these are the few things that get affected in the genital tract infections. So a doctor do analysis on that, and they can able to view that. Then vulva and vagina skin disorders. So because of the improper sex activities, because of the genital tract infections, the vulva and vagina leads to skin disorders. So these are the basic diagnoses that are seen in gynecology. So this is a fetal abdomen. This is a fetal heart. So these are the diagnoses that can be seen on the obstetrics. So what is obstetrics is nothing but study about fetus. Fetus is a what is a fetus and what is a baby? If a baby comes out after the 10th month, it is called as a baby. If the baby still stays in a womb, it is called as a fetus. So there are a few diagnoses that are given here for you for the field of obstetrics. The first one is abortion. So what is abortion? Is termination of a baby or a fetus. So if any fetus that has grown improper, if any fetus that was grown on an irregular size, or if there is going to be a malnutrition for a fetus, or if there is an what to say, if the fetus was not fully grown, then the physicians would suggest to do abortion. And there are few abortions that takes place automatically in female reproductive, in female body, for few other reasons, due to age, due to hormone cycle, due to menstrual cycle, due to improper sex practice during the pregnancy. It might lead to abortion. So at this cases, even though if the abortion takes place, the doctor should do analysis on what basis the abortion has taken place. So it is mainly used in the field of abortion. Then ectopic pregnancy. So ectopic pregnancy is it's very common thing. It's very common nowadays. And what happens on ectopic pregnancy is generally, um, for example, if the patient, we can put this. Exactly. Okay, if there is going to be a fertility for a patient and the fertility was not fulfilled, okay, or if they, exactly how we can say this. Okay, now consider this, like okay, if there is going to be a patient has undergone patient has undergone a fertility, okay, and in that the patient has to um, patient has to get a full pregnancy, right? That is, for example, if the patient is undergoing an IVF technique, so the basically what we can say is an failure of an IVF technique. Okay, if they try to implant a baby inside a uterus and if it was failed, it was called as an ectopic pregnancy. Okay, then abruptio placentae. So abruptio placentae is nothing but it is like a discarding of an placenta. The placenta gets discarded in this before the what to say, before the baby comes out. So that is called as an abruptio placentae. Then hemolytic diseases of the newborn. Hemolytic diseases are nothing but any diseases that is related to the that is related to blood. Any diseases that is related to blood is called as an hemolytic diseases. Then general fetal cycle. So you people need to know what is general fetal cycle. This is most important thing here. General fetal cycle is like there are few analysis that an obstetrician do during the pregnancy. Okay, what are the parameters they use to measure for a baby to check whether the baby is healthy or not? So what are the parameters they do to check on these things is what are the parameters do the obstetrician do to check is yes, obstetrician used to do analysis on the biparatal diameter, head circumference, abdominal circumference, femur length, occipital and frontal diameter. So these are the basic diameters that the doctors do on analysis. So what is a biparatal diameter is? It's like an end to end from right here to left here. So they will do a measurement from right to left and then from left to right. Then head circumference is the entire circumference of the skull. Then abdominal circumference is the GI tract, the abdominal circumference. Then the femur length. Femur length is why they do analysis on femur length is femur is the longest bone in the body. So they used to do analysis on femur length just to check whether the baby is fine or not. Then occipital and frontal diameter. So occipital and frontal diameter is the occipital is the back side and the frontal is in the front of the skull, so that there will be a cross sectional view on that, and it is from the you can able to do analysis from occipital and the frontal diameter. So then other than these things, these are the 5 basic parameters that doctor used to do analysis. So apart from these things, what other parameters that the doctor do analysis is humeral length, renal pelvis, transcerebral diameter, then interocular distance and binocular distance. So these are the other 5 parameters that the doctor used to do analysis on. So as you can see, so this is the fetal abdomen. Here you can able to see the GI tract. You can able to see the abdominal circumference that has been measured. So this is the heart of the fetus. You can able to see the chambers of the fetus heart. So this is the fetus image. Generally, this is how it looks. So here are the few diagnoses on pediatrics. Generally, ultrasound was not used in the field of pediatrics much compared to gynecology, cardiology and radiology. But yet I have given you few other information here. It has been used for the analysis of Down syndrome. So what happens in this Down syndrome is at the 3rd month, the gynecologist, the obstetrician will do analysis on nuchal transcalency. Nuchal transcalency is a bone or the empty bone. It can be seen only in the baby at the 3rd month. So they will do a measurement on that. So it's just to check whether baby has Down syndrome or not. So if the nuchal transcalency was not correct, then the doctor will suggest for the abortion. So then pneumonia, tuberculosis, these are the very common diseases that you can able to see. So you can able to see that I have mentioned here carcinoma, lymphoma, anemia and leukemia. So you might have a doubt why this person has mentioned these things here. Because generally doctors will not, these are cancer, okay, these are things that has been undergone for cancer, okay, carcinoma, lymphoma, anemia and leukemia. So what happens is generally if the patient, if the baby, it's going for a baby, they won't allow the baby to give exposure towards the radiation. So that's the reason doctor will do analysis on the ultrasound itself. So hardware and boards. So I have given your list of hardware and boards. So as you can see, it is an input-output board. You can see a transmitter, amplifier, beamformer board, continuous wave board, DSP module, and a 4D board. So what is an input-output board? Input-output board is nothing but a board that helps to switch on and switch off the system. So when you switch on it, you need the help of an input-output board to switch off the system. So transmitter is nothing but it helps to get the signals. Anything, any transmitter that has been used here on boards is used for the analysis to get the signals. Then amplifier is used for the differentiation of the frequency levels. So what then the fourth one is beamformer. So what is a beamformer board? So this is something very important. What is a beamformer board and why beamformer board has been used here? So as you can see here, one minute, I'll show you the image. So can you able to see the V-shape image here? This image, this is a beamformer, okay? So this V-shape image or like this curve image, you can able to get only if you have a beamformer board. So it helps to form that image. Then continuous wave board. So continuous wave board is one other board which is very important. So when you do echocardiography, it helps to give those continuous waves without any interruption and without any noise. So continuous wave board plays a major role there. Then DSP module or digital signal processing module. So it helps to control all the signals here, all the sound waves, and it helps to do the signal processing inside the system and arithmetic analysis also. So the one final board is called as 4D board. What is 4D board is? 4D board is nothing but it is used only for the 4D analysis. As you can see, 4D probe, there is a probe called 4D probe. 4D probe was not widely used by any of the physicians because 4D probe will not come under patient's cost, and it is like what to say, it is like a jewel. Okay, it is not very much important for the field of ultrasound, but yet many people are using it as a feature in the ultrasound. So 4D board, it is used to show the image in 4D or in a three-dimensional view. For that they are using 4D board. So these are the important competitors that we can able to see. GE, Philips, Siemens, Mindray, Sonore, Sonoscape, Samsung and Toshiba. So GE is the most highly recommended brand by most of the physicians and most of the radiologists and gynecologists. And Philips mainly stands out, especially in the color Doppler images. Nobody can beat Philips in color Doppler images because the image is so beautiful. Then Siemens. As you can see, most of the companies here are helpful in depicting images in a very high quality. And I have placed the competitors as per the image quality according to the quality and the price amount. And one other thing I have to say about ultrasound is, as you can see, I have not mentioned any diseases about cardiology. Why I didn't place anything about cardiology is a huge studies. It is vast studies, and it is more important to view and to do analysis. And I will explain in depth about cardiology tomorrow with one other topic called elastography, so you can able to get a quite knowledge about that. And I think I have completed almost all slides, and if you have any questions related to my slides or anything related to ultrasound, you can ask me now so that I can able to share with you anything that is related. I mean, I can able to clarify your doubts.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir. My question is about the maintenance of the ultrasound.
What do you need to know, sir?
Like,
About?
uh, like,
Huh?
like, what are the procedures, or let's say, what are the main basic foundations of the maintenance of ultrasound machine?
What are the basic combinations of an ultrasound machine?
Yes, sir.
Basic combinations.
Yes, sir.
Could you please be specific about that?
So, what I mean is that, for instance, I'm a biomedical engineer, and I
Mm-hmm.
am asked to look after an ultrasound machine.
Mm-hmm.
So, I am asking of what are the basic
Oh, you're
requirements
asking me
to,
what are the basic components to do an ultrasound, correct?
no, not how to do it, but how to maintain it, how to
How
look
to
after the machine.
maintain, okay, look after a machine. Okay, I can able to say that. So first thing in ultrasound, how to look after an ultrasound is you need to take care of the probes. Probes plays a major role here. Okay, so you should look after the probes because I can able to show that for you. 1 minute. Here you can able to see this probe. In this you can able to see the layer here.
Yes, yes, sir.
So in this layer you can able to see inside this there will be a layer of piezoelectric crystals. Okay, so these are the ones which helps you to depict the pictures from the human body. Okay, so if you fail to take care of this probe, then what happens is this layer comes out. Then when this layer comes out you cannot able to do scan procedures. Then secondly you need to take care of the monitor and the trackball. Okay, so this is trackball. I'll show you. Can you able to see here? So this is the trackball. Can you able to see a black image
Yes,
here?
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, that is a trackball. So below the trackball there will be a hollow space. In that what happens is there will be some sort of dirt will that go inside and it will just get settled like a sediment. So when you try to move the trackball, you can't able to move that properly. And one major mistake that everyone do in ultrasound is they fail to clean the layer of the probes. So generally when you apply a gel on the probe, you need to clean that with the tissue once the procedure has been completed. Okay, so and then you have to close the probes with the covers, and you have to close the machine with the proper sheet. And then you have to do like what to say, you should have an AMC and CMC, like annual maintenance for ultrasound for every year. So you should call a service engineer and you should ask them to check the ultrasound at regular basis, so that you can able to give you can maintain the ultrasound for a long period of time. And you should not press the probe in any body part. You should not give more pressure to the probe. You should handle it gently. And you should not type anything on the keyboard like very fast like a normal keyboard, because the keys on the ultrasound keyboard is very delicate. You should take more care on that. So is that clear, or
Yes,
do you
sir.
have any other
Yes.
doubts?
Yes,
Very clear.
hello,
Yes.
hello.
Yes,
Yeah, my name is Fawaz.
okay.
Yeah, you told about the one relationship between the frequency and the what we call penetration.
Oh, you want to know
I want
about
to
that?
know. Yeah, I want to know. And also, I had seen in some articles it is so it is, you know, basically three. I think relationship between three things. One is the resolution, one is the frequency, and one is this penetration. So how they are related? Three.
Okay. Yes, definitely. I can able to tell you that. So, what is first? You should know what is penetration is. What is penetration? Let me please, tell me what is your understanding on penetration.
How deep the sound waves, sound waves are going deeply
Mm.
into our bodies, and
Yes.
some soft tissues will absorb, absorb, reflectance is there,
Mm.
transmittance is there,
Mm.
not only for the ultrasound, most
Mm.
probably most of the light,
Mm.
but the waves of the ultrasound is different from the light, so light wave.
Mm.
So everything have that kind of penetration, attenuation is there. So
Yes,
as from
correct.
my understanding, it is penetration. I understood from that like this
Mm.
only.
Yes, good.
So
So what you said is correct. Okay. So basically, the depth that the sound waves travels inside the body is called as an penetration. I'll explain you with an example. Okay. So generally, a woman goes for a analysis for fetal study. Okay. She got
okay,
pregnant. Okay.
okay, okay,
She's going for her first trimester. Okay.
okay,
So whenever you go to any scan center, what happens is they will ask the person to drink more water.
okay,
Okay.
okay, okay.
So why that nurse or any physician is asking that person to drink more water is sound waves tend to travel in the
Medium.
liquid form. Yeah, in a medium much
Yeah. Okay.
faster in a more good penetration.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So, and it gives a very good resolution in the image. So you asked me about the resolution, how it is related with the penetration and frequency. So, how I'll tell you what I'll tell you first relationship between frequency and the penetration.
Okay.
See, generally, what happens is you take a linear probe.
Okay.
Linear probe, you're using it on the surface of the skin. Basically, you're doing for vascular studies. That is
Okay.
especially on the veins and arteries, right?
Okay.
So
Okay.
what
Fine.
happens is when there is going to be a high amount of frequency, you just need a low penetration. Low penetration is more than enough to do a vascular studies. Am I
Okay.
correct?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So for that, what you need a high amount of frequency. When there
Okay.
is going to be a high frequency, there is
Okay.
going to be a low penetration and a
Okay.
high resolution. Did you get it?
Yeah. Actually, I want to
Mm.
know more clear about that resolution. That word, what they mean in the ultrasound. Actually.
Resolution is nothing but it's basically a word from image processing. That is how clear the picture looks. That is called as a resolution. Okay. If
Okay.
for example, there is if you can see a grayscale image. Okay,
Yeah.
I can give you an example for resolution like this.
Okay.
You take a GE image, a grayscale image from a GE, and a
Okay.
grayscale image from a Philips, and a grayscale image from a Mindray. You're
Okay.
taking a image from all. Basically, it is a grayscale image.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
but the resolution is not going to be the same for all three images.
Oh.
It's
Okay. Okay.
because the quality that the machine is manufactured and it is
Okay.
the quality that is been implemented there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I understood. I understood. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'll give you one other example.
Okay.
You take a resolution of a Doppler image, okay,
Okay.
and a
Yeah.
resolution of a grayscale image. If
Okay.
you see that a grayscale image, if you see a fetus in a grayscale image, I'll show you that image. This is a grayscale image.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Fine.
Can you able to see the fetus?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
But can you able to see clearly?
No. 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 No.
No.
No. No.
This is a fetus of a
Yeah.
color scan, a
Okay.
Doppler image. Can you able
Okay.
to see the fetus clearly?
Yeah. It is clear.
Yeah.
Please.
So
Yeah.
this is basically called as resolution.
Okay. Okay. Fine. 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 Okay.
Do you
Okay.
have any other doubts,
No.
sir?
No. No. Nothing. Nothing. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, sir. Sir, my question is, what are the most common problems with ultrasound machines?
That's a very good question. The most common problem with an ultrasound machine is noise. See, generally, what happens is any service engineer who goes to fix an ultrasound machine or for installation, what happens is before any installation, you should check for earth. It depends upon each area, each country, each places. We might not know how exactly earth, neutral and the main works. So you should check for that. So if you fail to check the earth, the machine gets a shortage. It starts giving a shortage fall, and what happens is at initially you won't get any problems. Okay, generally a physician is going to buy an ultrasound machine. He used to think that I'm going to keep this machine at least for a 10 years. Okay, 10 years of a period, because the cost of machine is very costly. It starts from the pricing range of 13 lakhs and it is there up to 1 crore. So if any physician is going to buy a machine for 1 crore, you think if there is going to be a shortage and suddenly the machine gets failed and you can't you the machines the display will start suddenly, it will be very blank. You can't able to see anything. You can't, it will be like a black image. I think you people would have faced this issue in normal computers itself. I hope you would have seen that. But other than that, how this issue might lead to other problems is there will be lines, there will be vertical lines on the image which might remove the picture quality and the resolution of the image. So you can't able to see the correct good image and you cannot get the perfect information. So this is one other common problem that is seen in ultrasound. So what is another problem that is seen in ultrasound is, see, generally, if you take ultrasound, people, you cannot able to do analysis on bone, okay, because bone is a strong structural body, okay. You cannot do analysis on bone. So if you want to do analysis on bone, see, there is a difference between doing analysis for orthopedics and doing analysis on bone. So you have to be very clear with that. Everything, the study of muscles and the study of anything that is related to bones, it is called as orthopedics. But doing analysis on bone is quite harder. Why? Because bones are very hard, sound waves cannot travel through bone. So you cannot do or you cannot do pictorial images on the ultrasound for bone analysis, especially if the patient has undergone any transplant or if the patient has kept any metal detectors or any metals on their legs or any other places. They cannot do CT or MRI. Okay, so on that cases, what happens is they will try to do ultrasound, but on ultrasound you can get an image, but the information that you can get from CT or MRI will be more clear. But in this case, we have failed to get more information. But we can get information from ultrasound.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
May I know, sir, how to select the quality machine? How we select the quality
How to
machine?
select a machine's quality?
Quality.
Correct.
What are the parameters we have which we have to consider?
Sure, definitely. I can able to explain you that. Okay. So first of all, it is the need that a physician's, you know, what the physician needs is, for example, a gynecologist is not required a 4D probe, or she doesn't need a cardiac probe, she doesn't need a linear probe. All she needs is a transvaginal probe and a convex probe. And most important thing is, she must know how to do scan properly at different modes. Okay, especially she should know how to do scan on the what to say, for example, she should know how to do scan on the grayscale image as well as in the color image and the Doppler mode. So if she can able to do that clearly, it doesn't matter which machine it is, because according to me, all machines are all sonography machines have very good quality. Only thing that you have to look into a machine is how good is the image. You should not have any noise in the image. If there is no noise and if the image is perfect and you can able to view the parameters of the fetus, or if you can able to see it is well and good, I think that machine is, you can able to buy that machine.
All right, so thank you.
Yes. And one other information, it doesn't matter the cost of the machine. Okay, all it matters is how good the physician is handling the machine and how good you do analysis on that. That's more important. Is there any other questions that I can help you with?
Yes, ma'am. My question is that is it mandatory that a biomedical engineer must at least know how to use the ultrasound machine, just like the physicians are able to use the ultrasound machine, for the purpose of maybe if you happens to be an sales biomedical engineer, you'll be able to demonstrate to your clients, and also you might be asked when you are working in the hospital to guide maybe new workers or new students on the machine. So is it required that yes, in the hospital we might be asked as a biomedical engineer to operate the ultrasound machine?
So basically, you're asking me like a medical engineer, is it mandatory to know how to operate an ultrasound machine? Correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
For sales engineer, I think it's not necessary, but for an application specialist, it is very much important to know how to handle an ultrasound, how to know to take pictures, and how to, because he or she is the one is going to give demos to the doctors. So basically, you should know the difference between because all three are biomedical engineer. A sales engineer is also a biomedical engineer. An application is also a biomedical engineer. A person who works in the hospital is also a biomedical engineer. So all three has the same degree, but the role is different. A salesperson needs to know how to negotiate to a doctor. See, at the end of the day, everyone comes for the price. So he must know how to pitch. He must know to pitch which mission to which doctor, to give how much the price amount, and to give to bring profit to the company. But for an application specialist, he or she must give their fulfillment about the entire machine. He or she must know how to express themselves towards the machine. See, application specialist and a machine, they should never get separated. They are like a mother and a child. So they should know how to operate a machine. They should know how to deliver themselves to the doctors. They should know each and every scan technique that has been used in the ultrasound. Because if they don't know that, they cannot explain that to a doctor. Because as you can see, I have given you the diagnosis about vascular studies, about gynecology, about obstetrics. So these are the basic studies that I have seen, and I have I know to take scan procedures on that. So it is mandatory for an application specialist to know how to do a scan on ultrasound. As far as when it comes to a person who works in hospital, I would say they should know the basics of ultrasound. because it's sometimes they might tend to operate ultrasound at the operation theater or sometimes in ICU. So I personally feel to know it's not mandatory, but to know and to have a knowledge is well and good for a person in hospital. Do you understand, or you need
Yes, sir.
further more
Thank you,
explanation?
sir. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. I understand. Sir, there is also this question in my mind that may take for example, if the probe happens to become faulty, maybe the piezoelectric crystal in the probe maybe happens to come out, and then that is a fault. So, as a biomedical engineer, maybe I'm working in the hospital. Is it my duty to open that probe and repair it, or I have to contact the manufacturer? Say, for instance, maybe the machine belongs to GE or it belongs to Philips. So, do I have to contact them, or I have to maybe use my basic engineering skills to say, oh, okay, I have basics of electric engineering, or I have basics of electronics. So should I go ahead on my own and repair it, or I should have to seek help from the company, from the manufacturer?
Good, it's a very good question. But as I explained on the PPT, I have mentioned a term called AMC and CMC. Okay, it's called as, sorry, not on PPT. I think one person has asked me about how to maintain an ultrasound machine. So it's called as annual maintenance of ultrasound. Okay, so AMC and CMC, and there is one other term called warranty and guarantee. So if the machine has warranty or a guarantee, then I personally suggest you not to touch the machine. Anything, you should not touch the machine at all. Okay, you should, if there is going to be any issues in the machine, you should immediately call the toll-free number and ask the service engineer, or you can call the salesperson itself directly who pitched sales there, and you can ask them, see, I have a fault on this probe, I want you to replace the probe since we have warranty or guarantee for how much year they are giving you. And if suppose you have AMC and CMC, you have a document for that and you have contract basis, then I personally feel you should call the service engineer and ask them to do service for you, because I feel like hospital is gaining, you know, at the end of the day you're working for the hospital, right? So you people will be gaining more advantage from the company when if you can able to gain advantage from them. And moreover, if you don't have any options at all, if you don't have any options, and if you're really very good, if you have really very good skills in electronics, and as well as a wide range and very good anatomical analysis, I would suggest you to operate it by yourself if
Okay,
you
sir.
don't have any other choices.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Hello, sir. This is Priyanka.
Yes, ma'am. How may I help you?
If I need to know if I'm looking for sales job, what are the major qualities I have to enhance? Or else, if I'm looking for application specialist, in which way I have to train myself? Will you differentiate it?
Definitely. So, generally, for a salesperson, you should have, a witty knowledge. Like, for example, you should know, like, what a doctor requires or what a doctor needs. As I said before, a radiologist might need all the probes, but a gynecologist might need only the convex probe and the TV probe. And for IVF technique, you need only TV probe. For cardiology, you need only matrix probe. So you must know to pitch which machine to which doctor, and you must have a very good communication skill to speak to a doctor boldly, and you should have lots of patience, especially for the sales engineer. It is not like an application specialist. You should have lots of patience. You should have lots of you should have a confidence. See, whenever you go and pitch a machine to a doctor, he's a third person. He doesn't know who you are, where you're from which company you're coming from. It doesn't matter. I'll give you one example for that. When I was working as a salesperson in a company, I went to a hospital. I met a cardiologist. He said, I will give you only 5 minutes time and you have to impress me. So a salesperson has to have this quality to impress a person within 5 minutes, which means you should know all the features of the machine in your fingertips. You should know what feature to tell to a cardiologist, what feature to tell to an gynecologist,
You mean that
which
product
they,
knowledge is most important for sales guy? Am I right?
yes, especially good, that's correct. But for an application specialist, he should have a good scanning technique skills. He should know how to scan well, like a physician, like a doctor, like a
Oh, good.
radiologist. He should be concentrating more on anatomical studies.
Okay,
But
okay.
he should know when a doctor asks about a feature, because he is the one who's giving the demo. So though the salesperson talks more about features, he is the one who gives the demo. He should know the features also, but you should explain to the doctor more about anatomically, because they won't understand the technical concepts. For example, if you say what is an X-ray, they might not know what X-ray is. So you should tell them in an anatomical way so that they can understand what exactly that feature is. And for an application specialist, I personally suggest to have a very good body language, because especially while scanning, scanning procedure is like an art. You should know how to scan properly, and you should not fail, like you should feel like a doctor there. Then only you can able to do a scan procedure correctly.
Okay, okay, sir. Sir, I'm having one more doubt also.
Yeah, definitely. I can
We
assist you
saw
with it.
we saw many probes like linear, cardiac, many probes are there. Each probe having their own frequency, right?
Yes, of course.
For example, if linear probe, for example, 7 to 14 or 7 to 12, some frequency range is there. Like say many type of linear probes are there, or only one type of linear probe is there to do all vascular
No.
exams?
Of course. That's a very good question. I really appreciate that. See, there are many types of linear probes. Okay, there is not one particular linear probe. No, nothing like that. Because there are around, see, if you take in Philips itself, there are around 16 models in Philips machines. Okay, as I said before, there is machine starting from 13 lakhs and to 1 crore. So if you take a probe from 13 lakh rupees, the frequency, as I said before, the frequency range gives a very good penetration, a very good quality, good resolution, and very good image. Okay.
Okay.
So it depends. There are vast range of frequency range, vast range of linear probes, and you can able to know those frequency ranges. You can able to know the types of probes that is used for each model of the machine. I tend to file a policy in my company not to expose the frequency range or what type of model we are using there, but I can able to tell you that the frequency range differs according to each linear probe, according to each model of the machine.
Okay.
But when you get inside the MNC, you can surely able to view various probes, and you can see the competitors probes also. For example, you can see GE, you can see Mindray, you can able to see Sonoscape. How frequency probes are varied, and how in-depth image you're getting according to that, and what are the features that has been implemented for each probe. Features
Okay.
are mainly based on the probes. It is not based on the equipment. It is mainly based on the probes. As I
So that
said,
how we
without probes, ultrasound is nothing. Yes, tell me, ma'am.
is it that how we came to know which frequency of probe we will push to some doctors, or it depends upon doctor needs, or how we will push these probes?
Yes, as
Because
I
you
said,
said,
yeah.
as you said, because there are many various types of linear probes are there.
Mm.
How we came to know which frequency we will push to this doctor or that doctor? How we came to know that?
Okay, see, generally, most of the doctors will not use linear probes except for radiologists. Okay, basically, you need to know, like what it is like, when you get into a MNC, they will give you the training about how to get capture of it is like they will give you training on how to talk to a doctor, and how to view their analysis, and how to think from a doctor's point of view. Okay,
Okay, okay,
see,
okay, sir.
even then, how much ever you pitch a probe to a doctor, okay, at the end of the day, they come on one particular decision. It is money, pricing. Okay, any doctor you go, basically, every doctor will feel personally about pricing. So I personally feel like you should have good negotiation skill more than like pitching a machine. See, basically, you need to impress a doctor within 2 minutes or 5 minutes. Okay, because there will be a huge queue outside, waiting outside to see a doctor. Basically, you can see many pharmacy people will be standing outside, and you can see many other ultrasound from where other companies also, they'll be standing outside. Okay, so you'll be having hardly time to impress a doctor. You cannot impress the doctor within 5 minutes. So basically, at that period of time, you should know how to talk to a doctor, to pitch which probe at which time. It's not like, basically, you should know how to pitch a price than a probe. That's more important.
Okay, okay. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Yes, sir. I have this one question. You mentioned this word MNC. What is MNC?
MNC is multinational company.
Okay, so may I have a brief about it?
Sorry, sir. What's that?
How can I get it? How can I get more info? Oh,
I
is
think
it
I
like
think I think he will ask the question, right? What are all the MNC companies, and what are all what is the difference between MNCs? And I think they may ask. I think so.
So
yes,
you're
sir.
asking me what is the difference between MNC and a trading company, correct? Or a retailer company?
No, sir. MNC specifically.
So you want to know about MNCs?
Yes, sir.
MNCs are the big multinational companies who manufacture, who sell, who are being pioneers in the field of ultrasound. I think I have shown in the slide here. So these are the MNCs. You can see GE, Philips, Siemens, Mindray, Sonore, Sonoscape, Toshiba, Samsung. There are many other ultrasound companies are there. So basically, MNCs are there are MNCs. There are few people who works under MNCs, and there are other companies like retailer companies who take machines from MNCs. They sell outside in the name of MNCs, and they get profit from that. Can work there also. It is a, for starters, if you can't able to reach MNCs, You can first work on a retailer company and then you can reach to MNCs. It will be because if you start working on retailer companies, you will get more knowledge, you will get more time to learn about the machines, and it will be easy. It will be like a key for you to get into an MNC.
Thank you very
Is that
much.
clear, or you want me to explain further?
I'm clear.
You're welcome. Oh, thank you. No problem. It's not. Is there any other questions that I can assist you
Hello,
with?
hello, hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, ma'am.
Come
I
ahead.
have another question.
Yes, sir.
You know, when you told about the installation of the ultrasound machines, that you have to first check out the grounding and all these things. But I have another question: is that, will the interference, electromagnetic interference, the some other radioactive, some, most of the machines now are producing some kind of radiation from the machines, some range. Will it affect the picture? I don't know whether how the machines design, your Philips machines, or whether it is Siemens machines. So how we are setting the setup according to that one? Because if you take any machines in medical field, especially for these machines, you can see that the frequency range, we are setting one frequency, then wandering frequency we are setting. Most of the machines have that kind of setup. So how we are set any other setup, in any setup like this in the ultrasound machine?
So basically in India, there is like a few rules to be followed to set up an ultrasound machine. It's called as like, that room should be like enclosed. It should have like PNTT forms. You should have like, there should not be any radiological.
I'm not interrupting you. You tell me that PEN means the potential. This the earth neutral. You are telling about that one. Is that standard you are telling?
Not like that. How
Okay.
I'm trying to tell is,
Yeah.
see, for any place, if you need to install an ultrasound machine, basically the environment should be closed. Okay, it should not be an open environment. That's the first thing. Second thing, it should be having a dark. It should be in a dark room. Why? Because ultrasound can be viewed better in the dark rooms. Okay, the image, since we are viewing the color and the grayscale image, it gives a perfect image in the dark room. Third thing is, see, as you said, big ultrasound machine does not accelerate any radiations from itself. Okay,
No.
because it
I'm
does
not
not
telling
contain
about
any
that.
radioactive.
No. I know that ultrasound is not producing. We can't say because the some nearby some rooms, some
Yes,
other
that's what I'm
machines
trying to
can
tell.
produce.
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So what
Okay.
I'm
Fine.
trying to tell
Continue.
is,
So
it
yeah.
it can be like, see, it can be separated from CT and MRI through a wall. It's like if you build a wall in between the CT console and the ultrasound room, I hope you won't get any radiation affecting the ultrasound machine. Only thing is, you should not keep inside the CT console. Other than that, I personally feel ultrasound is well safe, good. Can take good ultrasound, won't get affected at all.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Question.
Is there any other questions that I can help you with?
Do you have any clarifications? Can you throw the questions to the instructor? Still 2 more days are to go. You can able to ask the questions tomorrow also. If you have a questions urgency, you can able to ask now.
Sir,
Yes, ma'am. How can I help you?
if a biomedical engineer wants to get into the field of application,
I couldn't able to hear you clearly. Can you please be louder? What was that, ma'am?
if a biomedical engineer wants to get into the field of application specialist, you have to get a more knowledge about scanning techniques, right?
Yes, of course.
If how to get a more clear knowledge about scanning techniques?
That's a good question. So first, you need to join in
You all know about the scanning techniques, right?
Excuse me?
If we get into the field as a new, we
Yes.
know about that, no? How
Yes. Yeah. They will give you training on scanning techniques. What are the basic scanning techniques and how to do scan on a human body. They will give you the real-time analysis on scanning techniques, and you can able to do a major studies on that. And they will take you like 2 or 3 demos along with you. They will show you how to talk to doctors, how to give demos. So you'll learn in a very short period of time. If you have a good grasping capacity, you can able to learn the scanning techniques easily. But before that, I personally feel like you should be strong in anatomy. If you're strong in anatomy, then you can easily learn these scanning techniques. If you're not strong in anatomy, it's quite hard. It's not hard, I will not say it as hard, because I feel like anyone can learn ultrasound easily because it is a very easy machine. Only thing is, you should have an interest, you should develop an interest to learn that. So what I'm trying to say is, anatomy is a very good subject that helps you to, basically when you do scan, you should not, you should know what part you're trying to scan. For example, if you're scanning the abdomen, okay, you should know which one is spleen. You should know which one is kidney, which one is gallbladder, which one is liver, which one is a stomach, which is small intestine, which is duodenum, which is jejunum, ileum. So if you don't know these parts, and if you blindly start scanning, it's waste. So I would say first learn anatomy, get more books on anatomy. I personally suggest Vishram Singh. Vishram Singh is there are 3 volumes on Vishram Singh. You can able to get anatomy books on Vishram Singh, and there is ebooks available on internet as well. You can able to get ebooks also. And one foreign author book called Elaine M. Marriott. She is a very good writer and very good author. You can able to see Dr. Elena Marriott book that is also available on online. It is available as ebook as well. You can download that and read it. For starters, I would say you can go with Vishram Singh since he's an Indian author, and it is, he has explained really good about each and every part. And especially if you really interested about ultrasound, if you want to become an application specialist, you should be more concentrating on female reproductive system, male reproductive system, and cardiology, and vascular analysis.
And can I get more knowledge PNDT?
Excuse me, come again, ma'am.
Can I get can I know about PNDT?
PNDT, I will explain about PNDT at the 3rd day. It's quite vast subject. I can explain you about PNDT on 3rd day.
Yeah, sure.
Yes. Is there any other question that I can help you with?
Good evening, madam. Sorry, good evening, sir. This is Rajesh. Actually, I have more knowledge about in hospital engineer. I was working in almost 6-7 years in hospital field. Okay.
Oh, that's really great, sir. I appreciate that. How may I help you?
Now I have basic idea about ultrasound. I know it, but if I want to quit to from hospital engineer to application specialist, what I have to need about either I need to go for course or any other company while enter, then later I can learning, then I can like what is called.
So you're asking like
hospital.
you're at present you're a biomedical engineer in an hospital. You're trying to switch
Yes,
field
yes.
from an hospital engineer to an
Yeah.
application specialist.
Yes,
So
yes.
you're personally feel like you're more interested towards application specialist. You're inclined
Yes,
towards
usually I have,
application.
yeah.
Um,
Where's for how to go for a
yes, I can
like
explain
MNC
you.
company? Yeah.
Yes, I can explain you that. But
Okay, right.
see, for me, when I tried to become an application specialist, I did not become an application specialist immediately. Okay, so first I was working as a sales engineer. Okay,
Okay.
because generally when you go to a gynecologist or when you go to an obstetrician, they won't be or any patient, they will not be comfortable with the male person to do scans. Okay, I
Yeah,
hope you
yes.
understand that.
Yeah.
So generally if you see, male application specialists are very rare. Generally they
Okay.
recruit people in MNCs for a sales engineer. So if you are really good at sales, if you are really showing more interest on application, if you push numbers, then you can talk to your manager and then you can get promoted as an application. But I personally feel with my experience, even I have faced many uncomfortable situations as an application specialist during gynecology, during obstetricians.
Yeah. They will not allow
So
you to scan, yeah, because of
yes,
male.
because especially ultrasound is basically designed for gynecologists and obstetrician. See, it's not like I'm not telling it as a negative term, but
Okay.
what I personally feel is male person can be more tend to give like as a sales engineer, but if you want to be an application specialist, you can develop more knowledge. As I said, you can develop more knowledge on the field of anatomy, and if you show more interest in that, surely you can but before that you cannot
Actually,
directly reach
I'm in
immediately.
electronics. Yeah. Okay. I'm not major in biomedical engineering. Actually, I have completed
That doesn't matter.
electronics
See,
system-based
that doesn't
engineering.
matter at all.
So
See, that
it doesn't matter, right? Yeah.
yes, basically you should know what is happening in the human body. Okay, there are many videos
Yeah.
available in YouTube. It's called as hu- how to know human anatomy. It's a YouTube page. You can able to see that they are explaining about the
Okay,
with
sure.
the cadaver. They will explain you with the cadaver about the human anatomy. It will be very simple and very with the very simple English you can able to learn that in a real time. And as I
Sure.
said, Vishram Singh is available as ebooks. You can learn that as well. And I would suggest first you just join in a small company, and then you develop yourself, you develop your knowledge in anatomy, and you develop your knowledge in the medical equipments. You develop your knowledge about your competitors, what are the competitors that are available. Then with the contacts that you reach in the hospital, with that help you can able to reach into an MNC.
Okay, thanks a lot. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you,
You're
sir.
welcome. Sure, definitely. Is there any other questions that I can help you with?
Thank you very much, sir. This is Pandin here.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you very much,
1
sir.
minute, sir. I'm having one more question.
Yeah, Priyanka.
Sir, I'm having one doubt. As you said, if it's a male candidate, then they will face some uncomfortable as an application specialist at the some time of scanning something else. So what I'm asking, is there any particular designation is there? For example, if a male, they feel uncomfort, if they will train more in cardiac application, it will be helpful for them?
Definitely, but again, it's person's interest. It varies from person to person. Some people, see, whenever they train you in an MNC, they won't train you particularly for cardiology, or they will recruit you as a salesperson, or they will recruit you as an application. They will train you based only on your designation, not based on the department that you're going to serve as. See, if you're going to be recruited as a salesperson, they will teach you features, they will teach you how to negotiate, they will teach you how to talk business. If they're going to recruit you as an application, they will teach you how to do scans, how to do, they will teach you on basic anatomy, and they will teach you how to behave and how to talk to doctors.
So if
I
I
hope
want
you
to
understand what I'm trying to say here. See, it is not like if see I even though male persons feel uncomfortable during it's not like on all situations. It does not happen on all circumstances, because there are male gynecologists, there are male obstetricians, there are even most of the radiologists are male persons. They are the ones who's doing scan for the female ones, okay, for the pregnant ladies. It doesn't mean they are get offended by that. No, see, it is a basic humanity, it is a basic concern that we personally feel a little uncomfortable to look at female reproductive parts, but at starting stages. But at later times, you can able to, you know, since medicine has improved a lot, many people have been educated a lot. At later times, it will be very easy for you. Now I'm feeling very comfortable to do scans with any female person. At starting times, it will be very difficult for a male person to undergo such situations. That's what I'm trying to say.
But as application specialist, a male candidate are more comfortable. In that case, sometimes patient is felt uncomfort. That situation we are lagging, no ma'am?
Yes, but mostly if you see, application specialist will not be a male person. They will be a female person.
Okay.
See, I'm an application specialist. That doesn't mean most of the persons who's working as an application specialist are male. No, most of them are female persons. I developed my knowledge. I have more interest in the field of application, so I moved to that.
Okay. So female is more comfortable for application specialist. Like Sam, I'm having one more question. As a female candidate, they are more suitable for sales.
Again, here it is not based on sex, okay? Male, female, anyone can be an application specialist or a sales engineer or a service engineer. I have a service engineer who's working, a female person who's working as a service engineer in our office, okay? It doesn't matter which field you work. All it matters is your interest, point of interest which you have. If you're really interested in sales, if you really want to earn more incentives, if you really wanted to become manager or to reach faster positions, I would say go for sales. If you are more, like a technical person, I want to become a research analyst, or I more feel like, becoming as an, doctor's friend like that, I would say go for an application specialist. If you think like, no, I'm more interested in hardwares, I'm really good at handling mechanical skills, I have good knowledge about that, I can able to assemble everything, I can assemble top to bottom of an ultrasound. If you have very good skills with that, it's well and good that you go as a service engineer.
Okay, fine. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
I hope, Mr. Gautam sir, we can hold a session now. We can continue the session by tomorrow.
Yes.
I hope anyone have any urgency in question, you can able to throw the question. I will give you time for 1 minute. If you have any clarification, you can able to throw, or else we can able to proceed the section by tomorrow. Yes, thanks a lot, Mr. Gautam. Thank you for the session, and we will continue further words by tomorrow. Thank you all the participants. Thanks a lot. Yeah, thank you.
Definitely. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Have a good day.